Hello and very warm welcome to ETCISO. This episode is powered by Microsoft. Now, AI is rapidly becoming the brain behind modern enterprises. It is analyzing data, automating decisions, and of course, accelerating innovation at a scale we have never seen before. But here's the paradox. The more powerful AI becomes, the more critical protection becomes. Because the same systems that unlock intelligence also expand the risk surface. So, how do organizations embrace AI without compromising security and trust? To explore that, I'm joined in by Abha Tiwari, Data Protection Officer at Air India, and Kaushal Todi, Customer Success Lead for Security at Microsoft. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation today. And starting our conversation with the big picture for both of you, and Kaushal, if you can come in first to the conversation, we know that how AI is moving from experimentation to now, core business operations. So talk to us about how is AI fundamentally changing the way conversations are happening around AI, of course, around data protection, around security inside the organizations?
Yeah, I think firstly, thank you. Thank you for hosting here and discussing about this topic. AI has become a boardroom conversation,
Yeah.
right? Every CEO, every business wants to adopt AI. What's really happening is while that's happening and data is fueling AI, the concern around security is actually front and center.
Yeah.
So a lot of organizations, a lot of industries whom we connect with, they are curious to understand, are they secured enough?
Yeah.
So the opportunity at hand that we have here is to have security front and center
Yeah.
in all AI conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, Abha, if you can come into the conversation as well, what is changing inside the organizations now? How are conversations looking like?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that question. So what's happening is, like Kaushal mentioned, everybody wants to experiment with AI.
Yeah.
Now, what's happening is that when you experiment with AI, you definitely end up having implications on people,
Yeah.
rights of people. You make decisions about them.
Yeah.
And there are risks and harms that are, it's not something that needs to be established. It has already been seen established, and we have seen consequences of that.
Yeah.
So on a regulatory front, there is a lot of countries are coming up with AI regulations, and which is where the harms and risks needs to be mitigated.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, this is, I think, one of those topmost conversations that today occupy the space in boardrooms.
Yeah, Ava, when we talk about AI, it
Yeah.
actually relies on a lot of heavy data.
Absolutely.
Right? So when
Absolutely.
it comes to that, like what new concerns does AI bring to the table? Because of course we are talking about how everyone wants to use AI and everyone perhaps is fascinated by AI also at this point in time. But
Yeah.
what new concerns AI bring to the table when it comes to, of course, data protection, data governance, and all the regulatory compliances as well?
See, a lot of it there. And then let's take some examples. So, we've seen this over the last few years that there's a lot of data that gets in, and then machine learns about it,
Yeah.
and those machines are deployed to make decisions.
Okay.
Now, one of the recent cases that I was reading was, there was this lady who was looking for a house, and her credit score, her income statements, her spending pattern, all of that had been given, and this was available with a lot of third parties, who were
Okay,
processing, who
okay,
had genuine need
okay.
to process it. Now, out of that, she discovered that when her landlord applied to do a credit check or to do a check to say whether she has the capability to pay the rent and all, for some reasons, for some hallucinations that happened in the system, it sort of had an ethnic minority bias was created, and she was denied simply on the basis that the machine thought that because she came from a certain group, it was not the right candidate to apply for that. It was just so she could get a house on rent.
Okay.
Everything else wasn't intact. Now look at the harm and risk. Now she was aware of it, she knew her rights, she went to the court, and it could be
Yeah.
addressed.
Yeah.
But think of somebody, when this decision is made on a group, it's
Yeah.
not. So this is one of those very peculiar challenge when there is a data, when a result can be made upon you.
Yeah.
You are not even part of the whole data
Yeah,
set,
yeah,
but there is a
yeah.
there's a risk and a harm that can arise to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Corroborated in a medical
Yeah,
environment.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that example. And, Kaushal, if we can come into the conversation and share more examples from the security perspective as well. When we talk about AI, of course, from your vantage point, working with a lot of organizations globally at this point in time, what are those biggest AI driven concerns that organizations are currently underestimating?
Yeah. There are a lot many. In fact, if you look at it, since this is a new tool, if I were to use that word, a lot of organizations are trying to embed AI into their business processes.
Yeah.
Of course, from an end user standpoint, it becomes convenient, it becomes easy for them to use it. However, we are seeing the things that probably organizations are ignoring is threats around prompt injection.
Yeah.
So there are prompts that attackers, fraudsters can create, which can have hidden prompts. And that's how your models or your data, the crown jewels, can get exposed.
Yeah.
Right? So there are ways and means of how you can protect your whole infrastructure against threats like prompt injection. Similarly, model poisoning.
Yeah.
I mean, model is the one which brings uniqueness to the business. Now, there are fraudsters in there who want to do reverse engineering and make sure that those models are kind of stolen, right? So, and obviously those models are also poisoned, so that the uniqueness is left. So these are things that we are seeing organizations in the haste of making sure that they go ahead and show efficiency to the business, maybe ignoring. So the opportunity at hand is to let them know of these, make them aware of these, right? And work with them. I mean, there are solutions to this, right?
Yeah, exactly what you said. In the haste of moving fast when it comes to AI, every organizations at this point in time wants to move fast when it comes to AI. But when it comes to, of course, the protection, the data protection frameworks, they often move more cautiously. Right, Abha? So how do you kind of strike that balance between the fast, the innovation and also protecting sensitive data and moving cautiously as well?
Right. So you rightly mentioned from a data protection standpoint now. So everybody wants to do it fast, and then comes the security element where you design the whole landscape, and we say, look, somebody has a brilliant idea, but then we say, look, stop, we got to evaluate, and nobody likes us for that.
Of course.
But what has been happening over the last couple of years is that because these risks have been translated into practical realities. So like this one instance that I shared with you, otherwise from the medical space, from the technology space, from a bias, discrimination, rights, high risk, low risk, all of those, there are enough examples. So the savior that we have today is one that because there are a lot of risks that have materially translated into real life scenarios, and because of all that, the conversation that we are having around it, people are aware of it. So that's one. Second part, the regulation is doing a great job. So many countries coming up with, I mean, EU already had it since 2024 now, and then many other countries are coming up with something or the other. Almost 90 plus countries there. So that's another part which sort of compliance is up, and therefore you cannot ignore. And then, the penalties around them is percentages of your turnover. So you can no longer afford to take risk. And lastly, I think there's sufficient, or this awareness part is building up. So people know that what I do today is not just what I do to finish the job, but this can materially have impact, which will not only cost the balance sheet and reputation and everything, this is going to have impact on a human. And human is at the center of all of it. So that's how it gets.
Absolutely. I would also like to take a step back. Like you said, security architecture when it comes into the picture. So Kaushal, do you think that this is the time we need to rethink about the security architectures in our organizations, considering we are now in the AI-led world, and the role of the security team is not only to create those architectures, but also for the AI world, right? Creating the entire infrastructure for the new world that we have just entered in. So how are we kind of rethinking, and is there really a need to do that?
Absolutely. I think even before the security architecture, I want to take a step back. I've seen organizations rethink their mission statements, their vision statements, the culture that they have in the organizations, right? A lot of organizations are rethinking that to align with responsible AI, to what was mentioned, right? So what I want to make sure is to tell that even before you get into the technical do's and don'ts, rethink on the culture that you're built up.
Yeah.
Is it ready for AI? Is it ready for secure AI?
Yeah.
And that's what pivots people to be aware of the risk that they're getting into. Because a lot of this is to do with how are you using the tool, then what are you using? So I think that is where it starts with. Having said that, right, there's a lot of shadow AI that's there in organizations. And to your question on architecture, right, that's where then the architecture comes and makes sure that even if there is shadow AI in the organization, how do you prevent on that, or how do you govern that? How do you know about it day on day basis as an organization? How are you prepared for the adversaries?
Yeah.
Right. So we have something called as purview, which allows you to be prepared for, let's say, DPDP, which is a recent act, right? And there are other acts that Abha spoke about.
Yeah.
So all of those purview can tell you as to what are the nuances that you have to get into. And then you have to decide whether you really want to implement them or not. Right. So from an architecture standpoint, what I have seen organizations do is secure AI fundamentals or secure AI landing zones is something that they are creating. Whether it is a model which is a third-party model or whether it is a first-party model, it doesn't matter.
All right.
But the landing zones on secure AI is helping them to be most secured as they are going ahead on this AI journey with.
All right, to sum it up, Kaushal, like looking ahead, what will truly define AI secure organization in the upcoming few years?
I think going slow and being aware of the risks that you're taking is what will define the success.
Okay.
Right? I think the business will keep pushing us to make sure that agility and efficiencies are delivered with AI. However, I think we have to go slow. We have to be aware of the security risks and be ready for it. That's how I think about it.
All right. Abha, what should leaders start prioritizing today also when it comes to AI, and from, of course, the regulatory standpoint as well?
Sustainability.
Okay.
So, like you mentioned, going fast
Okay.
will help you in the short term somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you really want to be sustainable, then it's going to be a journey. And the phase is such that we are actually on a steep, on an upward climb. And until we stabilize and we sort of understand where we are, it's supposed to be very thought through decisions.
All right. So, of course, well, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. As far as I've understood that AI may be redefining at this point in time what organizations can do. But of course, trust and protection and responsible use of AI will ultimately decide how far they can go. Right. Well, thank you so much. And to our viewers, stay tuned for many, many more such exciting conversations only at ETCISO.